Frank William Abagnale Jr., a name synonymous with audacious deception and brilliant reinvention. His story, famously brought to life in the cinematic masterpiece Catch Me If You Can, paints a vivid picture of a young man who mastered the art of illusion, outwitting authorities across continents. But who was the real Frank Abagnale, and what compelled him to embark on a criminal career that would forever etch his name into the annals of fraud? We delve into the true narrative, separating fact from Hollywood's dramatic license, to understand the man behind the myth. Born on April 27, 1948, in Bronxville, New York, Frank Abagnale Jr.'s early life seemed unremarkable. However, the stability of his youth was shattered by a pivotal event at a tender age. When he was just 16 years old, his parents made the difficult decision to divorce. This emotional upheaval proved to be a profound turning point, sending the impressionable teenager down a path none could have foreseen. The rupture of his family home became the catalyst for a life of rootlessness and ultimately, a startling embrace of multiple identities. With his family fractured, the young Frank Abagnale ran away from home, seeking an escape from the emotional turmoil. He found himself adrift in New York City, possessing a mere $200 in his bank account. This meager sum would prove entirely insufficient to sustain him in the bustling metropolis. Facing an uncertain future and lacking legitimate means, Abagnale quickly realized that survival in the unforgiving urban landscape would require cunning and invention. It was in this desperate crucible that the seeds of his criminal genius began to sprout, driven by immediate necessity. The need for money ignited Frank Abagnale's dormant talents. By the age of 16, he had already begun to master the intricate art of forgery and impersonation. His innate ability to observe, adapt, and deceive quickly evolved into a sophisticated skill set. He studied the nuances of legitimate documents, signatures, and identities, finding weaknesses and exploiting them with astonishing precision. This rapid descent into the world of fraud wasn't just about financial gain, it was about proving himself, controlling his destiny, and escaping the harsh realities of his fractured personal life. Abagnale's first major foray into elaborate deception involved impersonating a Pan-American World Airways pilot. He recognized the inherent authority and respect commanded by airline personnel, an identity that offered access and anonymity. Acquiring a uniform and creating a convincing fake ID, he slipped seamlessly into this role. This wasn't merely about gaining respect, it was a passport to a world of free travel, luxury, and unchecked movement across the globe. The choice of a pilot was a stroke of genius, offering unparalleled opportunities for further fraud. Donning his pilot's uniform and brandishing his falsified airline ID, Abagnale was able to enjoy privileges normally reserved for flight crews. He flew over 1 million miles for free on Pan Am flights, often hitching rides in the cockpit, observing operations. More than just travel, this identity granted him access to complimentary hotel stays, meals, and other services, all paid for by the airline. The scale of this deception was immense, allowing him to traverse continents without ever spending a dime, while simultaneously building a facade of legitimacy. After his adventures as a pilot, Abagnale sought a new challenge, a new persona to inhabit. He moved to Georgia and, astonishingly, managed to impersonate a supervising resident pediatrician at a local hospital. His choice of identity was always calculated, selecting professions that commanded high trust and offered opportunities for blending in without deep scrutiny. Though he never directly endangered patients, his presence in such a critical role speaks volumes about his psychological manipulation skills and his uncanny ability to learn and adapt just enough to appear credible. Abagnale maintained his role as a supervising resident pediatrician for an astonishing 11 months. During this time, he relied on medical interns and quick thinking to avoid exposing his lack of medical training. He would often defer to others, citing exhaustion or the need for a second opinion, all while absorbing medical jargon and procedures. His audacity to operate in such a high-stakes environment underscores his incredible nerve and his ability to project an aura of competence, even when utterly unqualified. This period was a testament to his sheer chutzpah. Yet another transformation awaited Abagnale. He decided to try his hand at the legal profession, a field far removed from medicine but equally demanding in its intellectual rigor. His motivation stemmed from a surprising personal reason related to his previous identity. The transition from a pediatrician to an attorney highlights his belief that he could master any profession through sheer will and superficial study. It was a bold move, requiring not just a new persona, but a significant intellectual leap, or so it seemed. In an astounding display of memory and cunning, Frank Abagnale claimed to have passed the Louisiana bar exam by studying for just 2 weeks. This incredible feat, while often debated in its specifics, showcases his extraordinary capacity for absorbing information and performing under pressure. He managed to convince legal professionals of his legitimacy, working within the system. The sheer audacity of this claim, whether entirely true or embellished, cemented his reputation as a master of quick studies and convincing performances, capable of entering even the most exclusive professions. Among his many guises, Abagnale also successfully posed as a college professor. This role offered him a platform of intellectual authority, and a seemingly stable environment for his ongoing cons. Teaching was another way to blend into a community, gain respect, and continue his fraudulent activities under the radar. Each identity served a purpose, providing a temporary sanctuary or a new avenue for deception. The professor persona allowed him to appear legitimate and educated, adding another layer to his already complex tapestry of lies. Before his 21st birthday, Frank Abagnale had assumed at least 8 different identities. These weren't fleeting masquerades but carefully constructed personas, complete with forged documents, believable backstories, and a mastery of the mannerisms associated with each profession. From a respected pilot to a dedicated doctor, a diligent lawyer, and an esteemed professor, each role showcased his incredible versatility and psychological insight. He wasn't merely putting on a costume, he was living a fabricated life, often for months or even a year at a time. Beneath these various respectable guises, Abagnale's primary criminal enterprise was orchestrating large-scale financial fraud. He cashed millions of dollars in fraudulent checks, exploiting weaknesses in the banking system and leveraging the trust associated with his adopted identities. His genius lay not just in forgery, but in understanding the procedural vulnerabilities that allowed him to pass bad checks with alarming frequency. He was a pioneer in what would become known as check kiting and other sophisticated financial scams. Abagnale's criminal activities were not confined to the United States. His sophisticated fraud scheme spanned across 26 different countries, making him an international fugitive. His ability to travel freely as a pilot facilitated this global reach, allowing him to exploit different banking systems and legal jurisdictions. The international scope of his crimes presented immense challenges for law enforcement, as they struggled to coordinate efforts across borders to track down the elusive con artist. He truly operated on a global stage, confounding authorities at every turn. As his spree escalated, Frank Abagnale became a prominent figure on the FBI's most wanted list. The federal government was determined to apprehend the young man who had so brazenly mocked their systems. The FBI dedicated significant resources to his capture, recognizing the threat he posed to financial institutions and the integrity of professional identities. The chase became a high-stakes game of cat and mouse, with Abagnale constantly one step ahead, using his wits to evade detection while continuing his audacious crimes. The relentless pursuit by the FBI and international law enforcement agencies intensified. Abagnale felt the pressure mounting, with agents closing in on his various operations. He was forced to constantly change locations, identities, and methods, making his life a continuous performance. The tension of the chase was a constant companion, a dramatic backdrop to his increasingly daring deceptions. Despite the inherent dangers, Abagnale continued to push the boundaries, driven by a mix of thrill, necessity, and a growing sense of invincibility that often accompanies such a prolonged evasion. The elaborate charade finally came to an end in 1969. At the age of 21, Frank Abagnale was apprehended by French police in Montréal, France. His luck had run out, and the global dragnet finally closed around him. His capture marked the culmination of years of international pursuit and countless close calls. The days of living under assumed identities, cashing fraudulent checks, and flying free were over. The young man who had once effortlessly glided through airports and hospitals was now firmly in the grip of the law, facing the consequences of his extraordinary crimes. Following his capture, Abagnale faced the harsh realities of justice abroad. He served time in both French and Swedish prisons, experiences that were far removed from the glamour and excitement of his criminal life. These incarcerations were brutal and unforgiving, a stark contrast to the life of luxury he had curated through deception. The time spent in foreign jails was a sobering period, stripping away his aliases and forcing him to confront the grim consequences of his actions without the protection of his elaborate facades. It was a dark chapter. After his stints in European prisons, Frank Abagnale was eventually extradited back to the United States to face American justice. The return across the Atlantic marked a geographical and psychological shift, bringing him back to the country he had so expertly defrauded. He was now under the jurisdiction of the very federal agents who had tirelessly pursued him for years. This extradition closed one chapter of his incarceration and opened another, placing him squarely in the sights of the FBI he had so cleverly evaded. Upon his return to the U.S., Frank Abagnale was sentenced to 12 years in a federal prison. This severe sentence reflected the gravity and scale of his crimes, recognizing the millions of dollars he had defrauded and the extensive international network of his deceptions. It was a definitive pronouncement, intended to put an end to his remarkable criminal career. This period of his life marked the lowest point, a time for reflection on the choices that had led him from a Bronxville home to a federal penitentiary. However, his full 12-year sentence was never served. After just 5 years in federal prison, Frank Abagnale was offered an extraordinary proposition. The federal government, recognizing his unparalleled expertise in fraud, approached him with a deal: early parole in exchange for his assistance. This was an unprecedented opportunity, not just for freedom, but for a chance to redefine his legacy. The very institutions he had once defrauded now sought his unique insights to combat the growing problem of financial crime. It was an offer that would change his life forever. Released on parole after serving only 5 years of his sentence, Frank Abagnale's freedom came with a significant condition: he was to assist the federal government, specifically the FBI, without pay. This unique arrangement meant that the former master con artist would now lend his expertise to catching others like him. It was an unconventional path to redemption, turning his criminal knowledge into a force for good. His intimate understanding of fraud became an invaluable asset to law enforcement agencies grappling with increasingly sophisticated criminals. The irony was profound: the man once on the FBI's most wanted list was now working alongside them. Abagnale transitioned from being the hunter's prey to becoming a key member of the hunt. This transformation from adversary to ally was not just a legal arrangement but a profound personal shift. His criminal past, rather than being a perpetual burden, became the foundation of a new, legitimate career dedicated to protecting the very systems he once exploited. It was a testament to the power of second chances and the strategic thinking of the FBI. What began as a parole condition evolved into a remarkable lifelong commitment. Frank Abagnale worked with the FBI for over 40 years. This wasn't a temporary assignment but a dedicated career, offering his expertise to countless investigations and preventative measures. His insights into the psychology of con artists and the mechanics of fraud were unparalleled, making him an indispensable resource. For 4 decades, the man who once cheated the system became instrumental in safeguarding it, a truly extraordinary pivot in a life defined by extremes. Beyond his direct work with the FBI, Abagnale also advised financial institutions and corporations on fraud and security. He shared his unique perspective on how criminals exploit vulnerabilities, helping organizations strengthen their defenses against check fraud, identity theft, and other sophisticated scams. His work has influenced the design of more secure checks, credit cards, and digital security protocols. His counsel was sought after globally, transforming him into a respected authority in the very field he once undermined. Abagnale's expertise was instrumental in preventing countless future frauds. He taught agents and industry professionals to think like a criminal, anticipating methods of deception before they could be fully deployed. His deep understanding of human psychology, combined with his technical knowledge of forgery, provided an unparalleled advantage in the fight against white-collar crime. He effectively closed many of the loopholes he himself had once exploited, ensuring that future generations of potential con artists would face a much tougher challenge. Capitalizing on his unique skill set and legitimate reputation, Frank Abagnale founded his own financial fraud consultancy, Abagnale & Associates. This venture allowed him to extend his expertise to a wider array of private clients, further solidifying his position as a leading authority in the field. It was the ultimate vindication of his transformation, building a successful and ethical business from the ashes of his criminal past. The name Abagnale, once whispered in fear by law enforcement, now commanded respect in boardrooms. To further share his experiences and insights, Abagnale authored several books. These works provided a more detailed account of his life and offered practical advice on how individuals and businesses could protect themselves from fraud. His books became important resources for both law enforcement and the general public, demystifying the world of white-collar crime and empowering readers with knowledge. Through writing, he ensured his lessons reached beyond the confines of FBI training rooms and corporate boardrooms. His most famous literary work, Catch Me If You Can, became an international bestseller. This autobiography provided an intimate look into his audacious life of crime and his subsequent redemption. The book's gripping narrative captured the imagination of millions, detailing his exploits as a master impostor and forger. It was this candid account that would eventually catch the eye of Hollywood, paving the way for a much broader cultural phenomenon that would immortalize his story in popular culture. The captivating story of Frank Abagnale was too compelling for Hollywood to ignore. In 2002, his life was adapted into the critically acclaimed film Catch Me If You Can, directed by the legendary Steven Spielberg. The movie brought his extraordinary tale to a global audience, showcasing the thrilling cat-and-mouse game between Abagnale and the FBI agent hot on his trail. This cinematic portrayal elevated his story from a fascinating true crime narrative to an iconic piece of modern cinema, reaching millions who might never have known his name otherwise. The film starred Leonardo DiCaprio as Frank Abagnale, delivering a charismatic and nuanced performance that perfectly captured the young con artist's charm, intelligence, and underlying vulnerability. DiCaprio's portrayal, alongside Tom Hanks as the relentless FBI agent Carl Hanratty, made the movie a box office hit and a beloved classic. The film, through its star power, solidified Abagnale's status as a household name, creating an enduring image of the daring young impostor for generations to come. While the film was a massive success, Frank Abagnale himself has openly acknowledged that Catch Me If You Can romanticized some aspects of his story. For dramatic effect, certain details were exaggerated or altered, a common practice in Hollywood adaptations. This distinction between the true account and its cinematic portrayal is crucial for understanding the man himself. Abagnale has stressed that his real-life experiences, particularly the hardships of prison, were far less glamorous than depicted on screen, highlighting the brutal consequences of his actions. Abagnale's willingness to clarify the embellished elements of his story speaks to his commitment to authenticity in his later life. He consistently aimed to educate and warn, rather than to glorify his past crimes. His own statements serve as a reminder that behind the thrilling cinematic narrative lies a complex human story of choices, consequences, and profound transformation. The truth, in his view, holds a more valuable lesson than any dramatic exaggeration, serving as a cautionary tale rather than an aspirational one. Frank Abagnale's life is a fascinating paradox. He began as one of the most elusive and successful con artists in history, defying authorities and embodying a carefree criminal existence. Yet, he evolved into a trusted and invaluable advisor to the very institutions he once defrauded. His journey is a testament to the potential for redemption and the unique utility of knowledge, even if acquired through illicit means. It's a story that challenges perceptions of criminality and the possibility of radical personal change. Today, Frank Abagnale's legacy extends far beyond the captivating tales of his youth. His invaluable contributions to financial security and fraud prevention have made a tangible impact on how banks, corporations, and governments protect themselves from sophisticated criminals. His life serves as a constant reminder that vulnerability often lies in unexpected places, and that the greatest defense often comes from understanding the methods of deception. He shaped modern security, ensuring the systems are safer for everyone. More than just a story of crime and capture, Abagnale's narrative is a powerful testament to the concept of second chances. His ability to transition from a notorious fugitive to a respected authority figure is a rare and inspiring example of personal transformation. It underscores the belief that even those who stray significantly from the path can find redemption and contribute positively to society, given the opportunity and the will to change. His journey reminds us that judgment should never be the final word. While the movie Catch Me If You Can brought Frank Abagnale's story to popular consciousness, the true narrative reveals a depth and nuance often lost in cinematic adaptations. It's a story of extraordinary intelligence, undeniable cunning, profound personal crisis, and ultimately, remarkable redemption. His life serves as both a cautionary tale about the perils of deception and an inspiring saga of how one can turn their past into a powerful tool for good. Frank Abagnale Jr. remains one of the most compelling figures of our time, a true legend.